Hey, YouTube universe and guitar players around the world. Thank you for coming back and watching the next step in my process for trying to restore this Kona guitar. Um, the bone saddle that I ordered it from Amazon. It was very cheap, but we'll see if it works. It's got to be better than this. So I ordered a new saddle from Amazon, and this is the current plastic saddle that was in this guitar. And here is the new Amazon saddle that I ordered. It's from a company called Bliss Time, and it's an okay fit. It's a little bit higher, but when I look at this, it's got the compensated V. It's a bone saddle. Take this one out, put this one in. They're close. You know, I don't need to do a whole lot of work on this saddle to make it work, but I am going to do a little bit of work because I noticed when I look at these that, I'll try to get a close-up of this, but yeah, the bone one is higher, you know, it has to come down some. Plus the action on this plastic saddle was a little high to begin with, so I want to take it even just a very small amount, like a thousandth lower than this plastic one, and see how that works. These bone saddles are so cheap on Amazon that if I mess it up, I can always try to get another one. As a matter of fact, I ordered a 2-pack for like $8. So if I mess this one up, I'll just throw another one up there. What I'm gonna use to sand this down is a flat surface like my granite tabletop in my kitchen. But I have 60 grit sandpaper here and 220 grit sandpaper here. So I'll put this on a flat surface and sand it down. First I'll mark this to see where my line, where I want this to be. And then I'll sand to the line, and I'll use 60 grit and then 220 grit for fine sanding. Okay, so that's kind of the game plan. I'll shoot a quick video of me doing my sanding and let me know what you think. In looking through my old, it also came with a bone nut. So I have installed a bone nut on my other guitar, and I do have this one here. The nut on this Kona guitar is not in the worst shape, so drop me a line and let me know if I should replace the nut now, or should I wait until later? Should I see how the strings are sounding and then decide to replace it, or should I replace it now? But I do have a slotted bone nut, and I did not check to see if these slots match up with my guitar. They probably don't, but I could probably learn to get it acclimated to these, to that spacing. So because it was $8, I don't care. Another thing, in looking through my drawer last night, I found the 2 pick guards that come with the Kona guitar. One is like a tortoise shell, or maybe just two, maybe they're both black. I thought one would be tortoise shell, but no, I guess they're both black, but they're 2 different styles. So leave me a message and let me know if I should use one or the other or none. Right now, I don't use any, and I really don't pick that hard to where I'm scratching into the body of the guitar. In my opinion, I've noticed that there's 3 different types of guitar players in the world out there. There is the person that wants his guitar to be well worn and well traveled, and he doesn't care if it looks beat up, and he actually applauds that and embraces that. And then there's this second person that doesn't want a single scratch or a single blemish on their guitar, and they want to keep it as shiny and as pristine as possible. And then there's kind of people in the middle that don't care either way. It's just normal wear and tear. So I'm kind of on the pristine side. I like to keep the guitars as new and as fresh as possible. I don't like it to look weathered and beaten and traveled and have that, you know, working man type of environment. But anyway, this would be how that saddle would look if I used that one. This is how it looks without any saddle. Well, I'm sorry, pick guard, gotta use the right terms here eventually. And then this is how it would look with this pick guard on there. So shoot me a line or leave a comment and let me know if I should actually put one of these pick guards on the guitar. This is your standard one. This is a little bit bigger and a little bit wider to catch more picks. Probably make that even with the sunburst on it. and then there's none, which I've been doing for all these years. So I'm surprised I found that. I'm glad I found that. When I bought this guitar, it also came with a cleaning cloth, Kona guitar cleaning cloth, which I never ever used. So, and I probably still won't. But it's cool that I still found that. Anyway, shoot me a comment. Let me know how you think this would look in terms of which one would be better. Maybe we'll do a mob rules on that. Thanks for watching, and I'll go sand the saddle down now. I'm in the kitchen with my wife, so you might hear some dishes and stuff clanging in the background, but that's cool. I marked my bone saddle, and I've created a line on how much I want to sand off. I want to be just shy of that line. That line is probably a little high, so I want to be just underneath it. You can always take more off later. You can't add more after the fact. So having less is better than having more. But I'm going to start with some 60-degree sandpaper. I have it flat against my granite surface. My wife's an angel for letting me use the kitchen counter to do my mad scientist work like this. But I'm going to hold this flat against the surface. I'm going to try to apply pressure on both the two ends of the saddle here and start sanding away some of the bone. What's cool about this process is I do have a pet dog, and when I sand this bone saddle down and hold it close to my dog, he likes to sniff it and he's very interested in it as if it's a bone for him. So I do feel like I got some sort of bone product from Amazon and not some piece of plastic that they pretend is bone. At least that's how my mind works. So I'm going to keep sanding this down to the line, and then I'll come back when I'm going to use a little bit of the 60-degree and 60 grit sandpaper and a little bit of the 220 grit sandpaper, and I'll come back and show you how it looks when it's all done.
Almost there, that's about even with the old saddle, a little bit. So I want to make this saddle a little bit lower.
And welcome back. I finished sanding this bone saddle. You can see I took a lot of the material off. It's probably good to wear a nuisance mask when you're sanding this. Breathing in too much of that dust is not good for you, so it's something worth considering. But also you can see here that the bone nut is lower than the plastic one that I originally had. So I'm going to test that into the guitar now and string it up and see how it works. But I think that's going to hopefully be good action, and see how it works. Hopefully I didn't go too far, but we'll tell in a minute when I get this installed and string it up. I did fit that bone saddle into the bridge plate and looks good. I'm curious to see how it sets up when I put the strings in. I do have a nice new set of D'Addario acoustic 8020 lights. I'll put those in. That should be a good string for a cheap guitar. But before I string up the guitar, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to do two more things. I'm going to slightly tighten the truss rod again, just to bring that under tension. And I'm going to try to just do one final cleaning on the body of this guitar. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, you'll know that I used steel wool soap pads to dress the frets, and I used barbells to glue the bridge plate down under pressure. So I have a couple of rigs going on already. I used lavender natural oil to condition the neck on this guitar. So why not keep using things that I'm finding around the house? And I'm going to clean the neck, the body and sides and back of this guitar with some automotive cleaning wax. Okay, no water required. I'm just going to shake this up, spray it on, and wipe it down and see if it takes just the body oils and the fingerprints and some of the smudges off of the body, off of the back of the neck, the headstock, and get that polished up so it looks as good as it can look. And then we'll do one more thing before we put the strings on. I'll try to tighten up the tuning pegs. But right now, I'm just going to spray this on the guitar And then I have a clean towel here, which I will use to wipe it in. And let me take care of this now. I'll do this offline, rub that in, and bring you back and see how it looks. And I did find a third pick guard. So if you're replying to which pick guards are best, by the way, you can see how nice and shiny the guitar is after I put the car wax on it. It looks really good. This would be the black large pick guard, which I showed you in a prior video. I could stick that on. This is the small black pick guard. But since I bought a couple Kona guitars for my daughters, there's a third pick guard that came with one of the guitars that I bought, and it's the tortoise pick guard. So, or no pick guard, which I've had for years, and that's kind of my favorite because I don't really get into the body of the guitar that much. So shoot me a comment, let me know which one you thought looked the best, and I'll work on that. Before I string this guitar up, I'm going to tighten these nuts that hold the stems, the tuning stems, to the headstock. The reason I'm doing that is because everybody on YouTube says that will allow the guitar to hold tune better. And these are very cheap tuners, so anything you could do to help hold it in tune better is worthwhile. These are a 10mm socket, but it could be different for your guitar, so don't hold us to that. I don't think it's wise to crank these so far that they strip. Maybe this isn't a 10. Maybe I stand corrected. I think if you over crank these, you can do some serious harm. You could, okay, I'm sorry about that. I had to switch sockets because it was not a 10mm. I just moved to a 7/16 and see how that fits and see if that fits. Yeah, it fits a lot better. I can feel that grip. So, of course, it's a short socket. So the stem is coming up and pushing it off. So it's hard to get good grip down there. But that is the right socket. The fact that I can turn these by hand is maybe not good, but I'm gonna go in there and tighten these all up. Make sure that they're tight and secure. They feel good. I will use the ratchet one more time just to make sure. I don't want to overdo it because, one, I don't want to break the tuner. They're cheap. Two, I don't want to not allow them to move freely, and they still do. So that's okay. Okay, so I am in a position now to string this guitar up. I'll get started with that right now. Okay, so stringing a guitar, there's a lot of videos on YouTube about stringing a guitar. A lot of them are very good. Most of them are good. I like the idea of tying a knot, if you will, around the stem of the tuner. That makes, I did it on the lefty guitar I set up for my daughter, and it just seems to hold the string better, and you can cut the string closer to the tuning stem when you're done, and I just found that to be a cool method. So that's the method that I've been using, and check it out on YouTube, okay? Don't be afraid if you've never strung a guitar before. Don't be afraid to string a guitar. It's not rocket scientist. There's a couple things that I would say to be careful of, and I don't know that I recommend tuning up to tune for each string until you have all 6 on there with a decent amount of tension, because you don't want to pull the neck one way or the other from tuning the low E too tight before you have the other strings on there. Maybe I'm wrong, and hit me a comment on your thoughts on that, but I think, you know, get all the strings on there, get them on there with mild tension, and then tune them up might be the best thing to do, because it's probably safe. It might be best for the neck. The other thing is, don't have your face over the guitar when you're tuning it, because if there's a fault in the string, if it's a faulty string, there's a defect in the manufacturing process, and the string snaps on you while you're tuning it, you can learn very quickly the hard way when the string snaps under tension and hits you in the face and lashes across your face and either cuts you open or leaves a mark that lasts for several weeks on your cheek or close to your eye, you can learn real quick that keeping your face right there on the neck is not a good idea. Okay, so I know you can't see it, but I like to have all of the holes of my tuning stems facing towards the neck. Okay, so that's the idea. You know what? I will show you how to do this. You'll see my bright orange shorts that I use to do my jogs in, but that's okay. I like to have the holes facing towards the neck, and then what I do is I put the string in, pull it through, and I go to essentially the next tuner. So I pull it kind of tight, okay, and then I go to the next tuning peg, grip it there, and then move the string back. So there's a little bit of slack in the string. All right, so now that I have that slack in the string, I move it inwards towards the middle of the neck, bring it around and under the string, essentially tying a granny knot. Bring it under the string. For some reason I can't do it now that I'm on video. And then I pull it tight and then pull it back over the string that's going down the neck. So I go in towards the headstock, under the string, up and over, and pull it tight. And that locks it in, and then when you're tuning, the only thing to keep in mind is that you should be pulling the strings inward towards the middle of the neck to tighten it, okay? If you're pulling the strings outward, outside of the tuning peg and outward of the middle of the neck to tune it, you're tuning it up the wrong way, okay? So I'm just gonna get this string, this is the low E, I'm just gonna get this tuned up, well not tuned up, but under tension. The last thing I would say is you're gonna have some slack in this guitar string, so when you're winding it up, I would say you don't wanna have it to where, you want it to wind in a nice tight clean spiral down the neck. You don't want it to bend over itself and anything like that, okay? So, but other than that, I mean, go for it. Don't be afraid to try tuning up a guitar. It's not the hardest thing in the world. So, have this string under very low tension. I'm gonna put the next one in. I bend the string slightly here. I don't put a 90-degree on it or anything like that, but I give it a slight bend so that it sits into the bridge plate well. Always make sure when you put the pin in to hold the string that the slot is where the string is, okay? But that's kind of important too. But if you don't do those things, it's not the biggest deal, but you might feel that the string repositions and moves and grips and moves up on the bridge plate. It's not a big deal, but it could happen, and if it happens, then you know the string is moving closer to getting seated properly. When I do it this way, I feel like it seats better and seats firmer right from the get-go. So again, I go into the middle of the neck, under, and then under, then over, and pull it tight. Reason, if you're a better player, or not even a better player, if you're an experimental player, and you like to try alternate tuning, that's another reason to have the slack in the string. Because if you're doing alternate tuning, you might need some of that extra string to tighten or loosen or do what you need to do to get these strings to alternate tuning. So a little bit of slack and a little bit of extra wind on the headstock could pay dividends down the road depending on the song. If you're playing pretty much any John Mayer song, you need a lot of string because he likes to do alternate tuning and he's one of the best guitarists that ever walked this earth. So you're not playing Kona guitars if you're playing John Mayer stuff. But I digress. Anyway, I'm gonna hit pause for now, get all these 6 strings on, following the same method, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.